We found a great spot here on the east escarpment of Mount Laguna in San Diego County. We're at the Desert View picnic area at Mount Laguna in the National Forest. And here we look out over the desert and lots of geology. Geology in the background, the middle ground, even right here in the foreground where I'm sitting near this fallen Jeffrey pine is a geologic story to be seen. Well, first, this grand escarpment has not always been here. We see evidence in the rocks right here where I'm sitting that at one time this was a seafloor, actually below sea level. And right now we're at about 6,000 feet above sea level. So a lot has changed since late Jurassic time when the schists at my feet were deposited on the floor of an ancient sea. It was the seafloor out in the middle of a deep sea basin and had been a seafloor for hundreds of millions of years. These particular ancient sediments go down thousands of feet through Triassic time as well as Jurassic. Well, now it's a very hard rock and some interesting structure to be seen. We see bands of dark material, lighter material. Those bands are all kind of streaked out. Some of them are folded and twisted. And that's because the rock has folded and twisted during its long history. Millions of years after it was a seafloor sediment, this area was intruded by a giant magma. A huge magma arose from the mantle of the earth during Middle Cretaceous time, and that's about 75 million years ago. It came up and superheated these ancient seafloor sediments, pressurized them, baked them, stewed them, recrystallized them into the schist that we see here. It's referred to as a biotite mica schist because it's full of one of the most common minerals in it is the little flecks of black mica called biotite. But along with the biotite is a lot of pure quartz sand. So apparently when this was a sediment, it was somewhat sandy seafloor, but also a lot of very black sand with it. Black sand then was metamorphosed into biotite mica. The white sand was metamorphosed into quartzite. Well, now these ancient seafloor sediments, which are now metamorphic schist, find themselves on the crest of Mount Laguna, around 6,000 feet in elevation. So apparently things got pushed up after the batholith intruded. It's thought that forces from beneath continued to push up even after the batholith crystallized into igneous rocks, intrusive igneous rocks such as granodiorite, gabbro, diorite. And those forces continued to push up well into through Cenozoic time, but by mid-Cenozoic, the high elevation mountains that had been created in late Cretaceous were worn down to low elevation. And then finally, during Pliocene and Pleistocene time, there was a last episode of uplift around 3 to 5 million years ago. It started and continued right up through the Pleistocene, which is about 1 million years ago. It might even still be going on. These mountains were pushed up to their present elevation here on the summit of Mount Laguna. So visible on this big piece of Julian schist are what look like flow lines, and you can see some swirls. Well, that's evident of some of the processes that went on when it was intruded by a huge magma mass. Our close-up on the secondary iron oxide stain, it's a remineralization that took place because of water millions of years after this rock became a schist. So I referred to it as a secondary oxide stain, meaning secondary to the formation of the actual rock. It took place later. And all because of water percolating down along a crack, picking up lots of iron oxide from the minerals in the rock, along with maybe some silica as well, to leave this very attractive pattern of iron oxide and silica stain. Well, now we have a close-up of one of those little swirls in this piece of Julian schist. We see the swirl is very evident because it's mostly light-colored material, which is quartzite, which was originally little grains of pure quartz sand that got fused together back in mid-Cretaceous when it was intruded by a batholith. And then concentrations also of the black sand. So together they make a swirl. And this swirl occurred as this stuff was behaving as somewhat of a plastic substance during the intrusion of the batholith of the magma. Well, now we're up on the summit of Mount Laguna. You probably recognize that landmark geodesic dome. Well, this backbone ridge of San Diego County and Mount Laguna is comprised primarily of schist, a very ancient metamorphic rock. An ancient seafloor sediment is late Jurassic in age, and that's over 100 million years old.